They call me a cryptid hunter. Sounds dramatic, right? Like I wear a hat made of Bigfoot leather and sleep under the stars, waiting to shoot Mothman with a silver crossbow. Sadly, the truth's less cinematic. I'm just a guy who saw something once. Something no one believed. And when no one believes you, you start digging for answers yourself. Sometimes you find them, but sometimes they find you first. I've kept a journal over the years. Not for nostalgia, just a record. So when I finally disappear, and I will, someone might pick up where I left off. Or maybe they'll have the good sense to burn it all and just walk away. These are the things I've hunted. I use that word loosely. Sometimes I tracked them. Sometimes I ran. Let's start with the one that haunts me the most. The Wendigo, Alberta, 2007. The cold in Alberta doesn't just bite. It burrows into your bones and nests there. Whilst following reports of disappearances near a remote logging site, the locals blame the wolves. However, some whispered Wendigo, like it was a curse. I had heard the legends: cannibalism, possession, endless hunger. I didn't believe in spirits back then, or superstition, just in things with claws and teeth, things that the government say don't exist. The site was abandoned. Snow draped everything like a shroud. I found blood in the snow, old, blackened at the edges, like rust. Nearby, a torn parka hung on a branch. It was about 10 feet up, coated with dried blood. I set up my camp just off the logging road. At night, the woods were silent. They breathed and cracked, whispered things that sounded like my name. The second night, something circled my tent. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Whatever it was, it didn't step on the snow so much as glide across it. The next morning, I found the prints. Elongated, skeletal. Human-like, but wrong. Too elongated, too narrow. I found the Wendigo on the 4th day. Or maybe it found me. It stood in the trees, half shrouded by snow and shadow. Tall, emaciated. Its skin was stretched tight against its bones. Its face stretched into a deer skull, but the eyes, they were human, furious and starving. It didn't move like an animal. It moved like a thought, there and then gone. I fired a flare, not to scare it, but to mark where I'd be found. It didn't attack that night. It made me wait. I left bait, a deer carcass, laced with a paralytic compound I'd used on wild cats. It took the bait. It screamed when the toxin hit. It sounded like metal tearing. That scream, it still claws at the inside of my skull when I try and sleep. I tracked it into a ravine. It was half paralysed, dragging itself, leaving bits of its skin on the rocks. It looked back at me, not afraid, just angry, like I'd stolen its meal. I didn't kill it. I couldn't. Something about it. It knew me, like it recognised something in me. So I left it. 3 more loggers disappeared that year. I couldn't go back. The Skinwalker, New Mexico, 2011. Have you ever heard your own voice coming from outside your house? Not an echo, not a recording. Your voice, calling your name. That's how I learned about skinwalkers. I was visiting an old friend. He'd retired to a small, quiet reservation town near Ship Rock. I enjoy the silence, he said. The emptiness. I thought he was just chasing peace. The first night I was there, I heard it. Ellie, come out here. I sat up in bed so fast, I nearly threw my back out. It was my voice, almost identical, but different. It was wrong. It was hollow. It came from behind the trailer. I couldn't see anything from the windows. Thinking it was a prank, or most likely trespassers, I slowly stepped outside with my flashlight and shotgun. I scanned the area. There was nothing. No wind, no rustling, nothing. Not even coyotes. My friend found me outside, shivering. Don't answer it, he said. It's not human. He wouldn't say more, but he made me sleep with salt around the windows and a pouch of ash and crumbled bone above the door. 2 nights later, I saw it. It stood at the edge of the yard on all fours, just beyond the light. But it wasn't a dog or a coyote. It was bigger, almost wolf-shaped, but gaunt, like it had been skinned and stitched together on countless times. Its eyes, they were wrong. They were too intelligent. And when it moved, the bones under its skin clicked like dry knuckles. Wet squelching and tearing sounds filled the silence of the night as its skin shifted, reforming as it grew taller. Then it stood up on 2 legs. It took a step forward further into the light. Its face changed, warping and shifting. It turned more human, from animal to man. I began to recognize it. It was me. I raised my gun. It stopped. I said, "Come out here," it whispered, grinning with my teeth. I fired. I hit it in the shoulder. It didn't bleed. It just laughed. My friend came out, chanting something low, urgent. He flung a powder. I later learned it was cornmeal and crushed herbs. The thing screamed like a radio warping between frequencies combined with animal screeches and human wails. It turned and ran into the darkness. Later, he explained, the skinwalker wasn't a beast or a ghost, nor a man. It was once human, a witch who had done the unthinkable. They killed someone close to them for power. In exchange, they gained the ability to wear skins, mimic voices, become anything they wanted to. But they could only enter if you invited them. I never said a word to it, but that was the first time I understood the danger of my own voice. The Mimic, Tennessee, 2014. I thought I'd seen monsters before, both man and myth, but I guess I was wrong. There's a stretch of forest outside Knoxville. They call it the Hollow of Echoes. Local kids dare each other to walk through it at night. They usually run back, screaming about whispers and shadows. But eventually, and inevitably, one of those kids didn't come back. I got a call from a friend in the local police. He told me that the search parties came back, saying that they had heard the missing boy's voice, calling them from 2 different areas at the same time. One was from high up near a tree, whilst the other was near a creek bed. The weird part was that they were about half a mile apart, with around 6 to 10 eyewitnesses in each group. I camped there for about a week. The thing about mimics is they don't hunt you like a predator. They're calculating. They weigh you down. They steal your familiarity. They chip away at your trust in your senses, leaving you questioning if you're even real. It started small. Branches breaking just behind me. My own footsteps played back seconds later, out of sync. I heard my dead mother's voice calling me from the dark on the first night. Silhouettes of people off in the distance, looking just wrong, something out of place. Arms and legs too short or too long, just completely out of proportion. They always remained just out of reach, leaving no evidence behind, no footprints, no tracks, nothing. And then I started seeing me. Not shadows, not reflections. Me, standing there among the trees, watching, smiling. The mimic doesn't want to kill you. Not at first. It wants to be you, take you apart, and put you back together, but wrong. And the scariest thing, if you let it touch you, just once, it learns everything, every little aspect of your life. After I'd gone for a leak, I caught it trying to crawl into my tent on all fours, with its body bent backwards. Its spine, my spine, was bent at unnatural angles and bone jutting out where it should have pierced the skin. Its head was turned around 180 degrees, so they looked more like a sick science experiment, trying to turn a human into a dog. It had my face. It was looking in and around my tent whilst gradually creeping further in. It hadn't seen me yet, so I waited until it crept all the way in. I watched for any sudden movement, or if there was any more of them. Then I rushed over and zipped up the tent. It began screaming and thrashing around inside, sounding like a mixture of my voice and radio static. I poured the remainder of my lighter fluid over the tent, and then I set the whole thing on fire. Everything from the next week is blank in my memory. Last thing I remember is watching the flames and the agonising screams drowning out the crackle of the flame. I don't know for sure if I killed it, but sometimes when I look in the mirror, I wonder if it got close enough. Bigfoot, Washington State, 2016. I never really bought into the Bigfoot hype. The blurry footage, the plaster casts, the redneck tales from the woods. It all felt too cartoonish. But what I found out there wasn't some mascot of some beef jerky commercials, or a man in a gorilla suit. It was something else. Something ancient. And worse, it was intelligent. I was deep in the Olympic National Forest, following reports of hikers going missing. No screams, no blood. Just empty tents. Sometimes with the zippers ripped outward, like whatever took them came from inside. It was day 3 when I saw the first sign. Literally. A symbol etched into the bark of a cedar tree. 3 vertical slashes with a curved line across the top. Not human made. It couldn't have been. It was too high up, with very limited ways of doing so, if it was a person, considering the remoteness. That night, I heard the knocking, echoing throughout the forest. Not woodpeckers, not branches. It was rhythmic, measured, like a code. I grabbed a rock and I knocked back. Stupid, I know. Something knocked back, but closer. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up with my shotgun in hand, with a blanket draped over my shoulders, to fight the cold of the night. The next morning, I found tracks. Barefoot, enormous, almost 15 inches long. There was space like the thing had a stride twice of mine. No claw marks, just deep impressions in mud. They looked just like human feet. But here's the thing. I found 2 sets, then 4. Before I knew it, there were 6 of them, all looping around in circles around my camp. But then suddenly, half of them just vanished, just stopped mid-stride. No ground disturbed, no mud caked on trees, just gone. Whatever was out there, it's not alone. The 4th night, I caught it watching me, or at least one of them. It was 7 feet tall. It was covered in black and brown hair from head to toe, matted with mud and leaves. It could not have been a gorilla, and definitely wasn't a bear. Its face was ape-like. However, its eyes, they glowed a dull yellow. Its eyes shone with recognition, like it understood what I was and who I was. I didn't move. I couldn't. It didn't blink. It just stared, waiting for my next move. And then, something behind me let out a low, chest-vibrating growl. I spun around, shotgun raised. There was nothing. Just trees and undisturbed foliage. I heard a rustle, back where the first one was. It sounded closer, almost as if it was right behind me. I spun around with the shotgun raised, but it was gone. Just nothing. I rushed back to camp and packed up. I was outnumbered. I didn't have the ammo, and it just wasn't worth the risk. However, I left a trail cam strapped to a tree so I could monitor them and come back. A week later, I went back. The site was clear, as if it was untouched, which seemed odd. It seemed too untouched, as if no animals had been here, or anything. It was supposed to be a popular camping site, but there was no one. No litter, or anything. I loaded the SD card onto my computer when I got home. The footage came through. First, it showed 6 hikers asleep in their tent. Then, something crawls into frame. Something big, hairy. It leaned down to the camera. Then it smiled. I haven't been back since. There was no news articles, no missing reports, nothing. just gone off the face of the earth. I think the Forest Service is covering it up. The Mothman, Point Pleasant, 2019. This one's a bit harder to talk about. Not because I was afraid, but because I still don't understand what I saw. It all started with a phone call from a woman who claimed she saw a man with big wings hovering over the Silver Memorial Bridge. She said his eyes glowed red, and every time she blinked, he got closer. She said she drove to the police in fear, but they didn't do anything, and the moment she stepped inside, he was gone. She called me later that night when she got home. I figured it was grief. The town's never really recovered from the 67 bridge collapse. Trauma echoes in weird ways. I should know. But then others started reporting it too. Truckers, college kids, and a priest. They all said the same thing. Black wings, red eyes, a telepathic voice in their head telling them to leave. I went out there one night around 2 a.m. I parked on the bridge's shoulder. The sky was cloudless. The night was cold, but still. I saw it after about 10 minutes. At first, I thought it was a bird on a streetlight. Then it unfolded itself. It was taller than a man, wings that stretched beyond the lamplight. Its body was matte black, looking like a void in the darkness. It absorbed all the light. It rose into the sky, but its wings didn't flap. It just floated, higher and higher. Each time I blinked, he got closer and closer. And then, its eyes opened. No pupils, just red, penetrating, glowing orbs. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. A sense of nausea came over me. In my head, I heard a voice. Not words, just grief. Deep, ancient, unbearable grief. I couldn't understand his words, but I could feel the emotion. He wasn't a hunter. He wasn't even angry. He was afraid. He was trying to warn me. As I stared, transfixed, a truck roared past, and in the strobe of the headlights, he vanished in a swirling black smoke. The bridge collapsed around 2 weeks later. Not a full collapse, but just a structural failure that caused one of the pillars to crumble and causing it to be unstable, creating a slight lean in the road. It shut down permanently because there was very little funding. Thankfully, there was no deaths with this one, but it could have been worse. I think that's what the Mothman does. He doesn't cause disasters. He tries to stop them. He's the only one so far who I haven't found a need to kill. And maybe the reason he always shows up near tragedy is because no one ever listens. The Hide Behind, Oregon, 2022. There's one more story I haven't told. It's not because I'm scared or something, but because it's still with me. Some monsters come at your teeth first, loud, obvious. They want the chase, the scream, the blood. But not this one. This one waits. It watches. It feeds off your fear and anxiety. And then the moment you have nothing left and you look away, it is already behind you. They call it the hide behind. I thought it was just some old lumberjack folklore, whispered in logging towns in the Pacific Northwest. The stories say it snatches people from behind trees, that it's impossibly fast, and that no one's ever seen its face. Well, anyone who's alive. It was the only cryptid I never tried to track, and I should have kept it that way. But a kid went missing, again, from a small town north of Tillamook. His dad found their campsite torn to pieces. Nothing stolen, no prints, no blood. Just the boy's backpack, left right where he'd been sitting, facing the woods. I told myself it'd just be another hunt. Bring some gear, camp out, listen, and just wait. I was hoping it would just be a Wendigo, or maybe a Bigfoot. On the first day, I set up trail cameras in a wide perimeter, brought some motion sensors, and rigged a back-mounted mirror system so I could see behind me at all times. I even laid tripwires around the perimeter with tiny bells just in case. The first night, there was nothing. No animal sounds, no wind, just silence. Not even the trees made a noise. The second night, I was cleaning my gun when I heard the mirror on my right shoulder crack. I hadn't hit anything. It just snapped, like pressure had been applied to it. I spun around, knife raised, and there was nothing. Only trees. I checked the cameras. Everyone had glitched out between 2:14 and 2:17 AM. Just static. However, one frame, just one, showed something. A shadow. A tall humanoid shadow between two trees. But it was wrong. He had too many joints and couldn't be a person, or a Wendigo, or a skinwalker, or even a Bigfoot. It was here. It found me. The third night, I didn't sleep. I sat with my back to a large cedar, shotgun in my lap, mirrors checked, and bells still. At 2:13 AM, the air changed. You don't realise how much silence can hurt until it thickens, when even the bugs go still, when the forest holds its breath, as if waiting for something to leave. That's when I heard it. The bell. Just one. A soft jingle behind me. Then another. Closer. I didn't turn. pulled a thermographic camera from my jacket and slowly raised it over my shoulder to point around the tree. It was just cold shapes against the warm background of trees. Nothing. But then, movement. A tall, contorted figure, like a human, peeled itself from a tree and stretched itself out. Its arms were long, too long. Could have almost wrapped its arms twice around the tree behind me. It bent down onto all fours. Then it started crawling towards me. But I couldn't hear it. I couldn't feel it. Only the bells. I snapped around and fired blind. Nothing. Then, the sound of something sprinting around me in circles, always just out of view. Trees shaking, footsteps hitting moss, whispers that sounded like my own panic thoughts being echoed back at me. Then I ran. I got out, barely. When I reached the edge of the woods, the sun was rising, just enough to colour the fog. I turned one last time. There in the distance, about 50 feet away, there was a figure between the trees. Not running, just watching. Then it stepped behind a tree and vanished. I've spent years hunting the things that go bump in the night, but the hide behind, it hunts you. And it doesn't just stop when you leave the woods. Because now, sometimes, when I walk down an empty street at night, I hear those bells. And last week, whilst I was brushing my teeth with the bathroom door open, I saw something in the mirror. A blurred shadow, just for a second, just behind me. And the next, it was gone. I still have some more stories to tell. Hopefully, I'll be able to tell them before I see it again.